What's happening? Welcome into another edition of Breeders' Cup Horseplayers Happy Hour, presented by In the Money Media. And of course, the Breeders' Cup. My name is Matt Bernier. I'm flying solo this week. Typically, I'm joined by Peter Thomas Fornatel from In the Money Media, but today happens to be Pete's 50th birthday. So first things first, happy birthday to Pete. But that's why he's not here. His family wanted to take him out and do some things with him. So I said, you know what? That's no problem. I've flown solo in the past. We can do so again. My birthday was yesterday, not nearly as big a milestone as 5-0. So Pete gets the day off, but that doesn't mean that all of the other things going on stop for this afternoon and this week for Horseplayers Happy Hour. First things first, if you're new to this, thanks for coming aboard. You can find us on the Breeders' Cup social channel, In the Money Media social channel. This will also be uploaded to the In the Money Media YouTube channel when all is said and done. 4 to 5 Eastern every Thursday. We go over at least one race that's part of the contest that goes on over at horseplayers.com. For those of you that have never played along, I encourage you to do so. It's a $20 buy-in, and here's sort of the lowdown of what the season looks like. We do these things starting early June right through the Breeders' Cup every Thursday afternoon. The idea is $20 buy-in. The VIG, the juice, goes to charity. It goes to Thoroughbred Aftercare. Our friends at TRF and TAA, they do great work making sure that the horses, when their job on the racetrack has come to a conclusion, they have a safe, happy place to go. So we're big proponents of that, and we believe everybody else should be as well. They give us so much enjoyment from a day-to-day basis, both from a sporting standpoint and also from a gambling standpoint. The least we can do is make sure that they're taken care of when their job on the racetrack has come to an end. So back to the actual happy hour itself. It's a contest. Lately, we've been doing all Saratoga, so races 3 through 10 up at the spa. And you buy in for $20. The top 2 finishers each week automatically qualify for the postseason, meaning we have a little bit of a 3 or 4 week playoff system where we whittle the field down by half each time. And at the end of that, whoever emerges victorious from that final table, they will earn themselves a full $10,000 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat entry, however you want to phrase it, into this year's Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge down at Keeneland Racecourse at the beginning of November. You can also, though, accumulate points throughout the season. The top 10 finishers, week in and week out, will accumulate points. The person at the end of the regular season with the most points, they also earn a $10,000 BCBC seat. So there's many things up for grabs, not to mention that the top 10% of the finishers week in and week out will automatically qualify for the Saturday BCBC qualifier over on horseplayers.com, which you can buy into if you just want to anyway for $179 and take your shot there. So many ways to get involved, many ways to hopefully punch your ticket to the BCBC, which we've talked about time and time again. We're a little bit biased, but I would say it anyways, even if we weren't good friends with the Breeders' Cup folks. It's the best contest that there is, bar none. Period. End of story. It's the best racing. It's the most amount of money being thrown out there from a prize pool standpoint. There's really no two ways around it, that the BCBC is an event that you want to be involved in if you can get in, or if you choose to buy your way in for 10 grand. So that's what we do on these Thursday afternoons. We come through, we chop things up for about an hour at a time. Typically it is me and PTF, but PTF also has been known to chat with some folks and interview some people, some movers and shakers throughout the industry. And this week is no different. He may not be here in person, but he is here on tape. He's going to be talking to Haley Amos from the Breeders' Cup, talking about the newly implemented, or the reintroduced, if you will, Breeders' Cup Classic Future Wager. Going to dive into that a little bit when we come back. We'll handicap the one race that we have on part of this contest, Saratoga race number 7, 5.5 furlongs on the grass. And in the back half of the show, we will handicap the 2 Win Your In races coming up on Saturday. 1 at Saratoga, 1 out at Del Mar. It's the Grade 1 Whitney and the Grade 1 Clement L. Hirsch. But first things first, let's hear from Pete and Haley.
Thank you, Matt. Next up on the show, very happy to bring in from the Breeders' Cup, our friend Haley Amos. Haley, how are things?
Things are great. Things are great here in Lexington. The weather's lovely, and we're full blown into the challenge series.
Indeed. We've got the Whitney coming up this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But what I really want to talk about is the debut of this new wager from the Breeders' Cup. I think this is such an interesting idea. For a few years now, I've had various people in the industry put together lists of their top contenders for the Breeders' Cup Classic from a long way out. Now fans are going to have the opportunity to put their money behind these opinions. Tell us a little bit about this Breeders' Cup Classic future wager.
Yeah, so the future wager is going to start. We're going to have two different pools. The first one starting this weekend, Friday at noon, and then it'll close on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, both of those times. And it's going to feature 23 different horses and then an all others option. So if there's 24 options total for you to bet, you have a minimum of a $2 wager. It's only win bets. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. And then the second pool will start in Labor Day weekend.
It's very, very cool. Now, I would imagine we're going to be looking at Flightline as a heavy favorite come this opening pool. Is there going to be a morning line? Like how are folks going to have a little bit of a way into at least guessing what these prices are going to be this weekend?
Well, I think a good telltale sign is to take a look at the Breeders' Cup Classic rankings. I mean, Flightline has been up there #1 for quite some time. So he's definitely going to be a heavy favorite, but that can kind of help you prepare for what you can expect when the pools open on Friday.
With the Derby wager, the all others is such an appealing option. I wonder, though, with the Breeders' Cup Classic and older horses and more established form, if people aren't going to gravitate more to the Olympiads of the world, the Flightlines of the world. We'll see how the market acts, but it's logical to me that the all others, while appealing for those that like chaos, probably not going to get as much attention as it does during the Triple Crown season. What do you think?
I'm feeling for those who like chaos. That sounds like my kind of bet, honestly. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. It's exciting because this particular pool, the first one, is going to take place and the Whitney is going to happen. So we've got Life is Good, Hot Rod Charlie. They're going to be running against each other. So it'll be interesting to see how their odds change over the weekend based on their performances.
It's an excellent point. I would not expect, if you're betting early on Friday, to have a consistency of price when you have such big names in Hot Rod Charlie and Life is Good. I'm really excited to see Life is Good. I know everybody is so convinced after Dubai that he's not a horse that wants to run the 10 furlongs, and maybe he doesn't, but I don't know. It's a quirky track over there. I want to see how he comes back, how he finishes up. He could be an interesting one to maybe sink some teeth into in this Breeders' Cup Classic future wager. Where can people find those current lists of the top 10 classic contenders that people put together?
Yeah, so we have them on our Breeders' Cup website. You can also just head to one of our social channels. We include weekly it on our Instagram stories as well as on our Facebook and Twitter, a direct link to where you can find those top 10 horses. And then on our website, if you go to our contenders page that we just recently launched and click on the Breeders' Cup Classic, you'll see all of those potential horses that you can expect to see on Friday.
Couple more brass tacks things about the bet. Will there be past performances available?
Yes, that should be available on our website as well.
Great. Just over on breederscup.com, you can find a look at the PPs of the 23 entrants that are going to be in here. And in terms of how to bet, I assume it will just be its own separate drop down. Like instead of choosing Saratoga or Del Mar, you choose some Breeders' Cup future wager option.
So yeah, betting will be offered at racetracks, advanced deposit wagering sites, casinos, simulcast centers, and then the off-track betting sites.
Anywhere that will take your betting dollar, basically.
Exactly.
While I have you, Haley, I wanted to talk about some of the other stuff you've got going on Breeders' Cup on the content creation side. Obviously, we're super proud to be part of the team. We love following the international racing, especially on Horseplayers Happy Hour. But there's another thing I want people to be checking out that the first episode just dropped. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we just recently launched a new series called The Rundown with Rosie. And that series focuses on our Win and You're In challenge races that are taking place overseas, as well as some potential overseas horses who you might see in the starting gate on Breeders' Cup Day. So we did our first episode in July, and then we are about to launch our second one this week. So you can keep an eye out for that. It's about a 10-minute piece, and it's really informative on those who maybe, keep up with the Win and Your Ins and keep up domestically, but would like to know a little bit more in-depth perspective on what's going on overseas. And it's a great piece.
between there, the coverage we're doing here, and I'll always put in a plug for our mutual pal, Nick Luck and Nick Luck Daily. No better way than those resources to keep track of everything going on and not feel like you're scrambling when you get all these international entrants for the Breeders' Cup in just a few months' time. The Breeders' Cup Classic Future Wager, check it out this weekend. You'll be hearing more about it, more about this division, of course, on this show as we go along. Haley, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed talking with you.
Excellent. And we'll just send folks one more time who are looking for more information, whether it's background stuff or the PPs themselves, go on over to breederscup.com.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Haley. Yeah, a fun wrinkle to this year's Breeders' Cup, adding in that classic future wager. You know, I've been someone who's had some success with future wagers in the past, and I think the thing for those of you that maybe have never, dipped a toe into that kind of pool, keep in mind, don't settle just because the number is there and you say, oh, well, I can lock in, I'm making it up, 8-1 on a certain horse. You have to think about it from day of. How likely is it that the horse that you're going to lock in here at 8-1 goes off at that price on Breeders' Cup Saturday? You're looking at Flight Lines of the world and Life is Goods of the world down in the sort of 3.5 to 1 range. Well, in all likelihood, I guess they could end up both in that same ballpark, but there's a real scenario that either one doesn't get to the race or neither of them get to the race, or there's so many different things that you have to factor in. It's purely a matter of value and making sure that you're getting the best of it when it's all said and done, which is really no different than gambling on a day-to-day basis. But I think it's a fantastic addition. It's something I'm really looking forward to. There's a horse in the pool. We'll talk about it when we go to the Whitney in a little while. It's a horse that I'm a little bit interested in. I just don't know if I'm ready to bite right now. I believe he was listed at 20-1 on the morning line, but we'll find out what those pools look like when they're all said and done. Something else to mention as far as these happy hours are concerned, we always welcome comments, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on YouTube, on the Facebook pages. We really appreciate all the interaction, and we want this to be as interactive a show as possible. AJ, I don't know if you can throw up a couple of the comments that we've got right now. A number of folks, Luis A. Toro, greetings from Chile. Always good when we get international participation, never mind here in the States. Vashawn Welch, happy birthday to both PTF and myself. Thank you. I appreciate that. PTF, happy birthday to Pete F. from Wayne Harrison, our friend Wayne, who is a frequent listener and a frequent viewer on the week in and week out sort of things. Wayne also has a question about Monterey. Can she take out the filly and mare sprinters if she keeps improving and has weight allowances at Keeneland? With two things in her favor, it's certainly possible. I mean, look, she's an upwardly mobile type. She needs to improve, I think, by leaps and bounds, though, if she's going to really run with the cream of the crop in that division. But I will say it's certainly a possibility. And I think there are some other horses, some distaff types, that maybe that 9 furlongs is pushing it a little bit. Maybe a turn back to 7/8 could make them interesting in there. So, look, Monterey has as good a chance as anyone, considering she continues to improve. But she does need to do just that if she's going to be a real threat. The first Saturday in November down at Keeneland, if she's going to win a race like the filly and mare sprint. A couple more comments that we have in here. A number of people just wishing Pete happy birthday. Lisa Brown with a happy birthday. Pete, Michael Domabil, our friend, who is always involved, not just as part of the In the Money Media Network, but he's always involved in the contest. He's doing well again. Happy birthday, PTF. Jackson Muniz has a comment. No way you get Country Grammar at 20-1. I'd be very surprised. Put it that way. When the pool closes, we'll see what those numbers look like. But 20-1 does seem highly unlikely on Country Grammar. And the last one we'll get to right now is Pelusa R. Lorraine. I apologize if I've butchered your last name. Thanks for sharing your program. No, thank you for listening here on this Thursday afternoon. AJ, let's get a look at the leaderboard through a couple of races right now. All told, we had 145 entries this week. So the lightest that we've had thus far throughout the season. Those of you playing, in a way, it's actually a positive for you because you don't have to beat as many people as we've had in the past. We usually range somewhere between 165 and 200 entries. A little bit light this week. I know the heat up in New York, or the heat everywhere, let's be honest, was definitely a bit of an X factor, and there's a chance of some rain up at Saratoga. So maybe that scared some folks away. But nonetheless, the top 14 folks will punch their ticket to Saturday's $179 BCBC qualifier over on our friends Horseplayers.com. The top 10 folks will accumulate points toward the year-long tour, the standings anyway, and the top 2 will punch their ticket to the postseason. So right now, number 1 is Mark Henderson at 46.40. Togo Travaglia, a name that we're all familiar with, second at 43.50. Dave Nichols in third at $35. Paul Cavanna, $35 in fourth. Michael Downbill, who we just mentioned, $32.50 in 5th place. 6th place is Edwin Sinowecki. Sorry, Edwin. I hope I didn't screw that up too badly. $31 in 6th. Dave Nichols again in 7th at $28.40. And then we've got a 3-way tie for 8th. Nick Kettinger and a couple of Chris Couples entries at $26.90. And again, those of you that are maybe new to Horseplayers or the sister site Horse Tourneys, tiebreakers come down to show placings. So we've only had 4 races so far. We're halfway through the contest. There's still many things that can happen between now and the, I say finale. I guess it would be the finale, the nightcap at Saratoga. But if for whatever reason there was a tie for 10th, it'll come down to show placings. We'll go from there. So, and I guess we can go through the top 14, right? We got 4 more folks that right now, anyway, are in position to earn that qualifier for Saturday. Andrew Wright's in 11th at $26.70. Steve Nemitz, 12th, $26.40. Stephen McNatton, $26.40 in 13th. And Robert Matthews, $26.40 in 14th. So that's your cutoff right now for the Saturday play. The top 10, again, those are the folks that would accumulate points for the year-long tour. And the top 2, you would automatically punch your ticket to the postseason for the Horseplayers Happy Hour Tour. So, with that said, the only live race that we are going to be on for this week is the upcoming race from Saratoga, race number 7, going 5.5 furlongs. And I look at the paddock. AJ, if we could throw that camera up, it's raining cats and dogs up at the spot. Not great. Not great. I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist, but I'm going to say that's rather substantial rain. If you didn't know any better, you'd think it might be snow. It's not. But so we'll find out if this race stays on the turf. I know it is listed as firm, but we know these things can come and go rather quickly. I guess it depends on how quickly this one sticks around. And again, in the comments, those of you that have been watching and playing Saratoga all day long, please let us know when this picked up, because preceding this show, AJ and I were having a little bit of a production meeting, and we have a weather delay. Lovely. You understand why. Hopefully it's not a terrible thunder and lightning storm that Saratoga has been known to have from time to time in the midst of a card. And early August, the humidity is off the charts. And again, the heat today and in Saratoga and really anywhere, even up in my neck of the woods, we usually don't get overly hot. We're up into the mid 90s and the humidity is off the charts. So hopefully this is a brief weather delay. This will certainly change the run of show a little bit, AJ, that we chatted about. But for now, here we go. We've got a comment from Walter Alexander. We have people paying attention to everything, which is fantastic. Small sell, but that doesn't mean, to Walter's point, I'm assuming he's insinuating that small sell doesn't mean that they're not going to get gallons of rain dumped on them and the turf will no longer play. We'll find out. I can't imagine with firm turf. I can't imagine this will come off unless it just stays a deluge, which is entirely possible. For those of you that have never been to Saratoga, upstate New York this time of year, really kind of, I guess you could say the East Coast in general, but upstate just south of Lake George, it feels like you can drink the air. Those of you that have been to Monmouth Park down on the Jersey Shore, kind of the same vibe, where when the humidity is up, I don't care if it's 80 degrees or 100 degrees, you're sweating the minute you walk outside. So I'm sure the folks up at the spa right now are dealing with that. And again, hopefully the weather comes and goes in rather short order. I'll talk about the race a little bit, just purely from what I was going to do. Now this throws a bit of a monkey wrench into things. You see them, they're still, in the walking ring and moving around. So it's not as though everybody's just completely ducked for cover. So hopefully that's a sign that things are going to lighten up a little bit. Although you do see that gentleman running across. He's not under a tent or anything. He's probably a little bit on the wet side here. So we've got not winners of 2 other than going 5.5 on the grass. That was at least the plan anyway. Current favorites down on the inside, the one by and by for Christophe Clement. Joelle's got them out. The filly has really done, she's never been spectacular, but she deserves to be the favorite in here, I think, at 5-2, albeit a tepid favorite. You've got 4 horses between 2.5 and 4-1, really, at this point. From a speed figure standpoint, I don't think she has any discernible edge on this field, other than the fact that this is going to be her 3rd start of the form cycle. And last time out, yes, she was close to a relatively soft pace. I thought she ran just fine, all things considered. Slight turn back in distance. She just missed by a neck at this distance last year at this track at Saratoga. So there's plenty of reasons to understand why bye-bye is the one that's taking most of the money at this point. Spicy Marg, the 3 for Wesley Ward, is one of your, there's 3 horses now that are listed at 3.5 to 1. Big speed. Spicy Marg's game. If for whatever reason nobody wants to go, Spicy Marg is one that could make them pay, just purely from a tactical standpoint. Having said that, this is a horse that on multiple occasions has had clear leads and has coughed them up late. So maybe the 5.5 is pushing it a little bit for her, despite the fact that she is 2 for 7 lifetime at 5.5. Something to keep in the back of your mind. And it's probably part of the reason that she's only listed at 7 to 2 currently on the tote board. The 6 and the 7 are both also listed at 3.5 to 1. The 6 is mail order. From a buyer speed figure standpoint, this is the filly to beat in here. She made her second start off of a lengthy layoff last time out on July 2nd down at Belmont Park. Really ran exceptionally well, won by more than 3 lengths. The 89 buyer is strong. The 114 time form US rating not factoring in the pace. Both of those numbers I think are fast enough to win. If she does that again, she's probably good enough to get the job done, despite the fact that she'll be stepping up from the N1X company to the N2X for the first time. And the 7, Always Late, I've seen enough handicappers that I respect and think they are arguably some of the best in the entire country, who like this filly. And you can kind of understand why, just purely, oh, that's not good. Well, AJ, we can go full screen now because we don't have anything on that. Oh, it's back. Oh, and it's gone. So clearly the weather must be rather significant and severe if we're losing the feed from time to time up at the spot. It's going to keep coming in and out intermittently for the next little while. So we'll leave it off for the time being. AJ, whenever you think it's good, we can throw it back up. I'll continue on with Always Late, though. The 7 in here at 7 to 2. The last time out, she tried to rally into the slow pace that Bye Bye was relatively close to. And I think that's part of the reason, anyway, that if I had to pick one or the other, I would lean more toward Always Late than the inside filly Bye Bye, simply because I think Always Late had more work to do in a race like that where there is no speed signed on. And she tried to make a bit of a move and it just didn't work out. And unfortunately for her, she's actually caught a couple of races recently that have been void of early foot. That puts her behind the 8 ball a little bit, but that run 3 back, if you feel like the pace could be on the more honest side, that Glen Cove, if she gets back to that 88 buyer, sort of high 100 time form US rating, that's probably going to put her right there with the likes of Mail Order or Bye Bye down on the inside. The filly that I was interested in, and again, do with it what you will, because we all know, been well documented, unless you are new to this show. Turf sprints, not my cup of tea, not particularly good at them. I just try to get through them, more or less. They're not races that I typically put a ton of money into, just because I think we all should be honest about our strengths and weaknesses. And turf sprints, it doesn't matter where they are. Belmont, Saratoga, Woodbine, Santa Anita. I will say down the hill at Santa Anita is a little bit of a different story. I feel comfortable there. These races, though, not my forte. I thought Hit the Woe was a little interesting at 8 to 1. A price in a race where, yeah, she's slow on figs. She needs to improve pretty substantially. If you think some of the other girls are capable of high 80 buyers, she's never done anything better than 80 in her career. So she would certainly need to run a career best. But I love the fact that she runs as well as she does at the end of some of these races. And we've seen horses rally from off the pace on the turf up at Saratoga so far through this meeting. And I think the other part, too, that's at least intriguing about Hit the Woe to me, she's only run on turf 4 times. I'm drawing a line through the risk averse last summer up at the spot because that preceded a very lengthy layoff. And I know she ran well going 2 turns down at Gulfstream at the beginning of last year, but I do wonder if she is kind of a one-turn filly. And if you look at her 2 one-turn turf runs, I thought they were both very respectable. I know that Soaring Softly, she finished 7th, and you go, well, how good could that run have been? Well, I mean, when you take a look and see that she only lost by a length and 3/4, there's a bird on the screen. Clearly, things must not be that bad if the birds are out there picking up some worms that are, I'm sure, coming to the top of the soil. Anyway, I digress. Back to the racing. Soaring Softly, that run, when you only lose by a length and 3/4, yeah, you finished 7th, but you made up almost 3 lengths at the final 1/8 of a mile. I'm inclined to think that it's a pretty solid run. And then you go back to the most recent time we saw this one. I know it was against far inferior, the N1X company down at Gulfstream going 5 furlongs. But for her to go from 3 lengths back at the final call, again, final call going 5/8, you've effectively got an eighth of a mile to sprint home. For her to be able to get up in time, I think that just speaks volumes about that kind of turn of foot that she has. If the pace heats up in here for whatever reason, assuming the race stays on turf, and I have no idea what condition it'll be in at this point, I don't think anybody would. I think Hit the Woe's at least interesting to maybe hit the board at a big price at 8-1 with Irad Ortiz Jr. listed as the rider for Christophe Clement. So as you can see, the rain is still coming down. The horses are still in the saddling area. We're hanging on. Wayne Harrison saying it might rain all weekend. If it does, life is good. Sloppy track form. He's also mentioning my birthday. Kind of missed that. If it was a happy day, yeah, it was yesterday. I was able to, life has changed quite a bit since the little babe showed up a few months ago. So I haven't been able to play any golf really, but I was able to get out yesterday and play 18 holes for the first time, a full proper 18 holes since, I don't even know, April, which I know for many people that's, I played a ton of golf before the baby was born, and that's certainly part of life that has changed. One of many, many things that have changed ever since little Letty showed up. But it was nice to get back out there. The form, dreadful, is at least in terms of what I was hopeful for, or what I've become used to throughout my playing times. But nonetheless, it was just fun to get back out there and play a little bit. So Wayne brings up life is good, though. And yes, there's a chance of rain all weekend. AJ, we're going to call a little bit of an audible here, simply because I have no idea how long this weather delay is going to last. They've stopped the minutes to post clock at 6. So we're going to audible, although you see sun trying to peek out. It looks like it's starting to break up a little bit. Hopefully, I don't know if that's wishful thinking. But for right now, we're going to look at the Whitney. The first of 2 win-in-your-in races coming up on Saturday. One at Saratoga for the Classic Division. The other one is out at Del Mar, the Clement L Hirsch, for the Distaff Division. We're going to start by looking at some past performances for the Whitney and understand that we may need to call an audible on the fly if all of a sudden race number 7, things start to let up and they're getting ready to go out. So AJ, if we could share the screen, and if anyone has any comments or thoughts on this race in general, we could probably even go full screen, AJ, if you want. I don't know if it's feasible. There we go. These are my past performances for Saturday's Whitney, the Grade 1, up at the Spa, 1 1/8 miles. It's a win-in-your-in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. You can see this race on NBC's broadcast on Saturday afternoon starting at 5 o'clock. I am off this week. I'll be back up at the Spa for Labor Day weekend for the Jockey Club Gold Cup. But all of my friends are going to be up there going over this race. This is, I think, on paper, the best race that we've had all year. It's not a big field, but you really couldn't ask for anything more. The only horses missing would be probably Flightline and Country Grammar. And we'll probably end up seeing them in the Pacific Classic on Labor Day weekend out at Del Mar. And hopefully we see all of them the first Saturday in November down at Keeneland. So we're going to go through. I'm going to just offer up some opinions on some of the horses. I've also listed what I would deem fair odds in terms of, from a betting standpoint, acknowledging that there is a fair chance that the inside runner, American Revolution, does not go in this spot. But we'll take them right in post position order. And unfortunately, I can't zoom in because things are a little bit funky on the tech side of things. Unfortunately, I was trying to do what I did the last time I rolled solo on Horseplayer Happy Hour. For whatever reason, couldn't get it all set up. So this is the next best thing. Hopefully, those of you paying attention or watching at home can follow along. American Revolution sounds like anything but a definite to go in this race on Saturday, which you can kind of understand. It's the entire outfit involved with Life is Good who's going to be the favorite. But that would suggest, anyway, that American Revolution is a no-hoper in a spot like this. And I firmly disagree. I think this is the kind of horse. Yes, maybe I'm a little higher on him than others. But I still maintain that his best is yet to come. And for him to run as well as he did in the Stephen Foster, and I'll go through and read off my trip note for those of you that are just listening, or those of you that come back and catch the pod version. I thought he broke sharper than anyone else in that race. And I thought it was a concerted effort from Luis Saez to take back when they all lined up going beneath the Twin Spires for the first time on July 2nd. And I thought it was the right move from Saez. Let everybody else go. They're going to set an honest pace. probably even more than honest, fast. You can try to rally into it. He tried to do so. Unfortunately for him and Todd Pletcher and everyone else involved with American Revolution, Olympiad ran a hole in the wind. He'll have to deal with Olympiad again on Saturday. But I think American Revolution is a good horse, assuming he goes. I made him 6-1. I think he's about a 14% chance to win this race. If they run it 100 times, I think he wins 14 of them. Allowing the speed to go, sit back, and try to make your run. But if I'm being honest, I hope he doesn't run Saturday. I hope they wait for the Jockey Club Gold Cup at 1.25 miles, because I think he's a 1.25 mile horse through and through. And I think I think he has a real chance at what could be a price in a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic. Hot Rod Charlie. Hot Rod Charlie's a fascinating horse, and I hope those of you that are watching along can see the things that I've highlighted. To me, he just lacks that focus at the very end against the best of the best if he has to pass horses. That's the key difference. If he can set the pace, I think he's as good as anyone. That Pennsylvania Derby, where he went out there last year, set a fast pace, went on and won, defeated good horses like Midnight Bourbon and American Revolution, and earned a career best 111 Beyer speed figure. The problem is when he needs to pass horses, I feel like he gets a little reluctant. He just wants to go out there and run with his friends. So the blinkers go back on. You'll note that this isn't the first time they have experimented with blinkers for Hot Rod Charlie. I'm not totally convinced that he is 1A elite at this point. Now, the real interesting thing is going to be, how is he ridden by Flavien Prat with the blinkers on? Because if I can see that he's at his best when he's on the lead, Doug O'Neill certainly can see that. But do you really want to try to go that fast to run with a horse like Life is Good, or run with Olympiad, perhaps soften up your horse, and who knows what happens from there? He's in many ways kind of the X factor of the race. I don't particularly like him in here. I made him 9-1, but Hot Rod Charlie does hold some of the cards to how this whole thing could potentially play out. Zoomer, I'm not going to spend a great deal of time. It would be a stunner if he won. If he did win, I would seriously wonder what the heck happened to everyone else in this field. Zoomer, there's no scenario that I would be betting on him. I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner. Just he's very hard to make a case for in a race like this. Olympiad, the 4. I made him 9-5. He's 2-1 on David Aragona's morning line. You'll note that I've circled the 5 route races of his career, going 2 turns. All of them are victories, all of them by open lengths. I thought his Stephen Foster was arguably the most impressive performance from any horse this year, including Flightline. I just thought he was so good to be up there running after a fast pace, be able to put away the pace setter who finished up the track, and then not only hold off a horse like American Revolution, who had the run of the race, but open up on him as well. I think Olympiad is arguably one of the best horses in training. You could make the case that he is the best horse in training because he's proven going 2. He's beat good horses, a number of different things. Olympiad, I would not be surprised whatsoever if he won Saturday's Whitney. I also wouldn't be surprised if he ran second or third, and it was still a quality performance. He earned a 105, 106 Beyer. One of those kind of efforts. Happy Saver's a good horse, another one of Todd's trio, assuming they all go. The problem is he just has not gotten much better from his 3-year-old campaign to where we are now. You'll note that in all of his races, his last 9 races anyway, he's earned Beyers between 94 and 102. Unfortunately for he and everyone involved, that's not going to be good enough. It's just not. Ooh, big lightning over at Saratoga. I'm thinking this is at least a high 100 Beyer, if not a low 110. And Happy Saver has not come remotely close to doing that at any point in his career. Unless this thing completely falls apart from a pace standpoint, I find it difficult to envision a scenario where Happy Saver emerges victorious. I made him 20-1. And the last horse in here is Life is Good. I also made him 9-5. He's 6-5 on David Aragona's morning line. Very interesting, kind of the parallels between Life is Good and Happy Saver. You'll see I have Happy Saver, all of his races highlighted with the exception of his career debut. The same with Life is Good. Going back to the point of Happy Saver, all of his Beyers have been between 94 and 102. all of Life is Good's have been between 101 and 112. And if you take out the 101 and the sham, they've all been between 105 and 112. So he's just much faster than Happy Saver. And that's, Happy Saver. I'm not trying to sit here and say he's not a quality racehorse. He is. We know that. He's a grade 1 winner. But Life is Good is, I would argue, one of the more talented horses we've seen in the past, purely on talent, 5 to 10 years. I think he's an extreme talent. The question is, how far does he want to go? And you'll note that, I don't know if you can see this, but following the Pegasus World Cup, my trip note in DRF's formulator says won't lose in 2022. And he proceeded to lose his next race in the Dubai World Cup. I didn't think the distance would be the thing that got him. In my opinion, that's why he lost over in Dubai. It was not because of anything other than that. It was just a matter of he didn't get 10 furlongs, which makes Saturday's Whitney very interesting on a number of fronts because he could still win. And I don't know that my questions about the 10 furlongs would be answered. Maybe if he goes off and wins by 5 and gallops out like an absolute monster, I would think otherwise. But I can't help but think we could still get an otherworldly performance on Saturday, and I would still have questions about him at Keeneland in November going 10 furlongs. So there you have my look at the 6 horses in this year's Whitney. It's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. AJ, we're going to do, PTF has requested a little bit of a table setter for social. It'll be a quick hitter kind of thing. So I don't know if you want to go back to only me or you want to go half and half. There we go. We can do that. This will be a table setter. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to quite give a pick just yet, simply because I don't know if my horse is going to run in here. And I have one more piece of information that I need to take a look at. But at any rate, we're going to reset it here. Saturday at Saratoga, the Grade 1 Whitney. It's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Arguably the best field that we have seen, top to bottom, all year in 2022. Whoever wins this race will certainly earn it. Don't know just yet if American Revolution is going to go in this spot, knowing that the connections also have Life is Good involved. I like American Revolution. I think he could certainly win a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic with the right circumstances. I like him at 1.25 miles. 1.1 1/8 on Saturday might be a little bit too much, and that's assuming he even goes. If he doesn't go, it feels like it's either Olympiad or Life is Good. No disrespect to Hot Rod Charlie or Happy Saver or Zoomer, but it feels like it's Olympiad or Life is Good. Part of me believes that 1.1 1/8 Olympiad might be slightly better. I think at 1.25 miles, he's certainly better, but we'll find that story out in time. Probably the first Saturday in November at Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup Classic. But as far as Saturday's race is concerned, the Grade 1 Whitney, I do like American Revolution if he goes. If not, boy, Olympiad's going to be tough to beat, but wouldn't be surprised at all if Life is Good gets it done or even Hot Rod Charlie. So there you have it. Let me know. Those of you that are watching, listening, let me know what your thoughts are as far as the Whitney is concerned. Still have a bit of a weather delay. They've tacked on 11 minutes to post for race number 7. They're probably just going to continue. It'll be a bit of a moving target, I would imagine, as we go along. So 11 minutes would bring us to 4:51 on the East Coast, assuming everything goes off as scheduled right now. So it's happy hour. I'm going to take a little bit of a quick drink. And maybe we dive into the other win in your in race for Saturday. We do have a comment from a couple of comments, AJ. Let's go to Jackson Muniz to kick things off. Blinkers on for Hot Rod. And all his best races are on the lead. Does Pratt try to beat Life is Good to the front? To be honest, Jackson, I think the only way he can win is doing that. Put it that way. Now, I don't know if that's going to bode well, big picture, because again, for him to outfoot Life is Good, who in his Nehrude last out set legitimate sprint fractions, 22:44. I don't know if Hot Rod Charlie's got that in his back pocket. And to be fair, they're not going to go 44 to the half. But then again, I say that. You think back to Hot Rod Charlie in the Belmont last year, going as fast as he did at 1.5 miles. Would it be stunning if the blinkers on, again, if I can see it, I know Doug O'Neill can see it, that this horse does his absolute best when he doesn't have to pass anyone. Maybe they are aggressive, and that's why I do think he is kind of the key to the race, because if he doesn't go and Life is Good is able to just get out there and get into an easy beat down the backside beneath the rad, if we're talking a 47-second half mile for a horse of this caliber, I think he's going to be pretty tough to run down. Although, then you think about it from a dynamic standpoint, Olympiad's not going to be far off. He's probably going to be glued to his flank. And we know that he's not a slow horse by any stretch of the imagination. So I think it's a really interesting puzzle. And it's part of the reason that I would still consider picking and betting American Revolution if they choose to go in this spot. Because if Hot Rod goes, Life is Good's going to go. Olympiad's probably not far off. I mean, isn't there a scenario that the three of them hook up, let's say just inside half mile? Meanwhile, American Revolution, Happy Saver, Zoomer, they're kind of in that next grouping. If those first three, they may be the three best horses, but if they just go knocking heads, does it help set up for a horse like American Revolution? No, just throwing that out there. It's always fun and I think important to kind of draw up how a race could possibly be run in your head. And that's, I think that honestly, that's part of what makes handicapping so fun, trying to envision the scenarios in which this horse wins or this horse doesn't win. Let's go to JL. Hope we get the otherworldly performance from him. Let the people bet on him. I assume that suggests that JL is not a fan of Life is Good in terms of the classic going a mile and a quarter. JL, I don't know that I disagree with you right now, just because what we saw over in Dubai, I don't think that was a matter of the horse not being good enough. I think it was just he got a little tired at the end of that run. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also, for what it's worth, jockeys are out by the trees in the paddock at Saratoga. The clock continues to tick. We have 8 minutes to post till race number 7. So knock wood, we will end up getting this race before the end of things. And AJ, producer AJ, well done. You're right on top of it on the ball. Let's go to Michael Dombo with a question about the Breeders' Cup Classic future. All Others pool. Who is the most likely winner from the All Others pool? I'd say Artorias, but there are a few others like Art Collector and Highly Motivated. You know, the reason I'm inclined to agree with you about Artorias is because of what he's shown in such a short amount of time. Now, look, he needs to improve by leaps and bounds, not breaking any news there. The 95 buyer he earned in the Curlin, not nearly fast enough to win a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic, but we're not running it right now. We're running it in a few months. And the thought anyway, or my thought, let's say even if he doesn't win a race like the Travers, assuming that's where he shows up, but he moves up into the low 100 range, a move up to a low 110 the first Saturday in November is not out of the realm of possibility. And the beautiful thing about an All Others wager is Pete and Haley were talking about, maybe it's not quite as volatile as the Kentucky Derby future pools, but not only do you get Artorias, you get any other horse that's not listed there. Now, I will only comment on the other two that you mentioned. Art Collector, I feel like he's been sort of exposed at the top level. I think he's a good horse, don't get me wrong. I just don't know that from a Breeders' Cup Classic standpoint, I can see him winning. And the same goes for Highly Motivated. I feel like Highly Motivated, I don't know, maybe I am way, way down on him or I'm not giving him enough credit. But my goodness, he just needs to find so much. And compared to Artorias, Highly Motivated has run faster than Artorias has to this point. But only marginally. And Highly Motivated has run a heck of a lot more than Artorias has. So to me, Artorias is all upside. Highly Motivated, for him to win, I feel like not only would he need to take a giant step forward, which in my opinion doesn't seem likely at this point in his career, but he would need everybody else to come back. And that to me is not a particularly appealing proposition, but to Michael's point, you take All Others, you get them all anyway. So you may not love them, but guess what? You're a fan of anyone not named in that future pool. Michael, thank you for the question, and good luck for the rest of the way with the contest. Let's go with Roshan Kuriakas. I'm sorry if I'm screwing that up. I really think Hot Rod Charlie has no shot against Life is Good. Well, I think the wagering will probably be sort of in that same vein as well. And I also think we need to, I always want to try to kind of clarify and classify comments. When I'm saying I don't know that Hot Rod Charlie is a horse that, without things going his way can win a race like that, that's not to suggest that he's not an elite racehorse. Purely on numbers, he's one of the fastest horses we have in the United States, period. He ran really well over in Dubai. He won one of the local preps. He went on to finish second in the Dubai World Cup, even if the Dubai World Cup looked like a little bit of a stagger fest at the end. But purely from a talent standpoint, I mean, I don't know that anybody would argue that he's more talented than Life is Good. So I tend to agree with you, and I think the wagering would also end up agreeing with you as we get closer to post time on Saturday. AJ, as we keep going through some comments, we can also throw up the live feed from Saratoga. We'll do the Clement L. Hirsch after race number 7 is run, because guess what? They are on the track. Always good when we have jockeys, we have riders up on the backs of horses, and we're going to run a race. 4 minutes to post. They're going through. You can take a look at that. We'll also continue to go through some of these comments. Nancy Spence. Great show and happy birthday. Thank you, Nancy. I'm still holding out hope for a 2-track contest, as if one is bombing at one track, aka me at Saratoga. It would be nice to try and rally with another track. Nancy, I understand that. And, we've talked about it at the beginning of the season, and Pete and I continue to go back and forth about, what is the perfect... You're never going to make everyone happy. We know that. But trying to make as many people as possible happy, I think that's... Oh, look at AJ. Well done. We want to do what the players want. And if the vast majority want to go all one track, we understand. But what we just had happen is inherently the risk with an all one track sequence, where if all of a sudden you get a massive rainstorm, guess what? I know it says fast and the track's been sealed. Who knows what you're going to end up getting for the rest of the day weather-wise. That is the risk you run with all one circuit as opposed to divvying it up. So PTF and I will chop some things up. I will be off for one of the weeks at the end of August. I have another thing coming up that I can't officially say just yet, but I have one other show, if you will, that I'll be doing before the NBC show on Labor Day weekend, a big event. But PTF and I will brainstorm and see, maybe we go every other week kind of thing for a number of these contests and see what folks seem to like. Tommy Seafeld. Let's take a look at Tommy's comment. Fascinating puzzle to try and figure out the Whitney. Leaning, Life is Good, but seeing so many people go towards Olympiad, he has been second guessing a bit. To be fair, Tommy, I would almost look at it purely from a selfish standpoint. If there's a scenario that they go off close to, I think, well, there are many reasons you should make a value line to assess what you believe the true likelihood of a certain horse winning a race is. But if everyone and their brother's going toward one horse and you like the other, you may actually end up getting a better price than you thought you were going to. So I wouldn't jump ship. I think your opinion is the only one that matters. Not mine, not Pete's, not any handicapper out there other than you, including the public, and the public is the best handicapper that there is, period. But stick to your guns. Don't get swayed off, because if all of a sudden, I'm making it up, Life is Good goes off at 9-5, like I have made for a fair number for both he and Olympiad. If he goes off at 9-5 and Olympiad goes off at 8-5, and Life is Good wins by 4, and you ended up pivoting because of what other people in the sort of Twitter sphere or other people writing up things go out and say, you're going to feel, you're going to be kicking yourself. So your opinion is the only one that matters. When you listen to me and Pete chop things up, or you listen to any other podcasts or any other shows that are out there, the only opinion that matters is yours. Everyone should remember that. John Petrig. Dubai track was very deep that day. Life is Good. Gave it up in the last furlong. Fast surface. Think he can carry 10 furlongs. For the folks that like Life is Good, that is the hope, John. And you're not alone there. And I think that is certainly possible. I'm not going to be betting on it necessarily, simply because he's going to be a short price. If he gets into the Classic, he's going to be a short price. I have no doubt about that. Because if something between now and then goes wrong, or he loses, the Classic won't be where he goes. They'll probably go to the Dirt Mile. But if he gets there, he's going to be a short price. Maybe the second choice to Flightline. And at a short number for a horse that I'm not sold about 10 furlongs, that to me all of a sudden becomes a bit of an uninteresting proposition. So that's just my opinion, though. I appreciate your input, John. And again, all of you who have commented so far, thank you for doing so. We're going to do things a little bit different this week. Tommy Seafeld, beautiful day at the spa again. You're right, Tommy. As opposed to when PTF and I typically talk through the race, just to give my voice a break and I can have a quick little drink before we come back, we're going to let John Embriol, the voice of the New York Racing Association, take us through race number 7. Let's go full screen, AJ, with audio from Johnny I.
Waiting for Othwalk and Hit the Woe. They're all in. And they're off. And it is Spicy Marge quickly out for the early lead. And Othwalk came away running in second. Mail orders on the outside next and third. Then Mon Petit Chou racing in fourth. Followed next by Hit the Woe in fifth. It's 2 lengths to Always Late, who's running in sixth. Farther back in the field is Secret Time. The trailer is Bye Bye in eighth. Up front, Spicy Marge shows the way here by a full length. And on the outside is a Mail Order, who is racing in second. Almost 4 lengths now, back to Othwalk in third. Mon Petit Chou is next in fourth. Hit the Woe now comes on through as the field comes for the top of the stretch after a quarter in 21 and 4. It is Spicy Marge holding on to the lead here with Mail Order driving on the outside. Farther back, it's Hit the Woe and Always Late as they come down for the 16th pole. It is Spicy Marge in front from the start. Always Late putting in a late run. Spicy Marge, Always Late. Spicy Marge holds on. Always Late, just a bit late. The final time was 1 minute, 2 seconds.
Gate to wire score. I went with Spicy Marg. Now, I don't know what that says about me, but when I read that, I thought it was Spicy Marg. But Spicy Marge, according to John Embriol. Gate to wire, as you can see, they are kicking up rather healthy divots out there on the turf course. On the what are we on? We're on the melon, on the main turf, whatever you want to call it, not the inner turf. Big late kick from the 7 horse in here. Always Late, who again many folks out there liked, and Hit the Woe. You know, I thought there was a chance that she could come on with some sort of a late run. Honestly, at the top of the lane, I thought she was in even better position than to just hit the board. But not going to complain about an 8-1 shot running third in here. But I'm going to go with Spicy Marg, Spicy Margarita. It's happy hour. That's what we're talking about here. Spicy Marg, gate to wire beneath the Hall of Famer John Velasquez. We'll see how much that changes things as far as the leaderboard is concerned. And it'll actually be good timing, AJ. We're going to do this on the fly very quickly. We're going to do a look at the Clement L. Hirsch from Del Mar coming up on Saturday. It's a grade 1. It's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Let's go with the screen share if we could. And it's a smaller field, and I'm going to have to do it a little bit quicker because we want to get a reset for the social media and then also get you an updated leaderboard and get out of Dodge. Look, down on the inside, Soothsay is the most fascinating horse of the weekend. Never mind this race. She's been gone since July of 2021 for Richard Mandela and Mike Smith. We're not talking about people that don't know what's going on here. They're bringing her back in a grade 1. You see, I've highlighted those fast workouts lately. She's been working consistently since the middle of June. I have no idea what you're going to get from her. According to DRF's formulator product, past 5 years, first start after a year-plus layoff for Richard Mandela, 1 for 20, but 12 of them have hit the board with a 107 ROI. So maybe just a little bit unlucky that the wins haven't come. I'm inclined to just sit back and watch one, but fascinating entrant in here. Soothsay in the grade 1 Clement L. Hirsch. The 2, Lizette, goes out for Patty Gallagher. No disrespect. I made her 50-1. Again, just you have to look at it from a logical standpoint and say the career best number she's earned from a buyer standpoint is a 79. That's not nearly good enough to get it done. Even an 89 doesn't get it done. A 99, yes, she probably wins. She's never come close to that. I made her 50-1. Desert Dawn, the 3. She's a 3-year-old filly. I made a case for her as a good kind of bomber underneath for the Kentucky Oaks because I thought she ran quite well in that Santa Anita Oaks. I think she's got a little bit of quirkiness in her. Maybe her and her buddy Hot Rod Charlie, where she gets up close to horses, and then when she puts a head in front, she doesn't totally want to go on and finish the deal. The Kentucky Oaks thought she ran really well, all things considered, and you have to draw a line through that Summertime Oaks because she fell to her face coming out of the gate. Ignore that win. for them to be here with a 3-year-old taking on elders, I think it speaks volumes for Phil D'Amato's barn. I think she's really good. I don't know if she's good enough to win this race. She would be an underneath key for me if I'm playing a trifecta or a superfecta in third or fourth. Private Mission goes out for Baffert, the likely pace setter. I made her 3-1. I thought her run in the Santa Maria, she had a perfect trip. And I wish that she had finished a little bit better than she did, but that was first start off of a bit of a layoff. She was with Sean McCarthy at that time, back in Baffert's barn now. Won't be surprised at all if she goes out there and wires this field. But when push comes to shove, and it's not because I love her, I think She Dares the Devil is just a better horse. I happened to be there at Churchill Downs that day for the Fleur de Lis, and I think that was arguably the best race she's ever run, the most complete race. In that, I think she wants to sit off of a target. I think that's part of the reason you can give her the benefit of the doubt for the La Troyenne and the Azeri. Yes, she has one on the lead, but I don't think she really wants to run that way. I think she wants to run with a target. She had a target in Super Quick in that Fleur de Lis, and Super Quick is a good horse. She's not a superstar Hall of Famer, but she's a proper graded stakes caliber runner. And for She Dares the Devil to be able to just go and inhale her the way that she did and draw off. I know it was at Churchill Downs and she loves Churchill, but guess what? She doesn't mind Del Mar either. She's run quite well there in the past. She won this race last year. I think she's the most likely winner. I made her 9-5. The 6 Samurai Charm for Peter Miller, I think could be a bit of a fly in the ointment for a horse like Private Mission from a pace standpoint. I don't love her chances to win, though. She would need to run a career best and have others regress. And Blue Stripe, I guess if you're looking for somebody at the Santa Maria, it's a little bit interesting. Maybe it's Blue Stripe at 8-1 as far as my fair odds are concerned. But again, she needs to run a career best number. She could certainly move up to a mid 90. But even having said that, I think she needs some help in this spot. I made her 8-1. I'm inclined to look at this race as 5, 4, and 3. She Dares the Devil over Private Mission, over Desert Dawn, rallying from the back of the pack. I think she's going to give a good account of herself against older horses for the first time. But this is one race that I don't know that I need to see much more. I typically consult a couple other products for some of the other big races. This one, I feel pretty good about the 5. She Dares the Devil. Not breaking any news, though. She's going to be the favorite when all is said and done. AJ, let's do a quick reset for social, and then we will take a look at an updated leaderboard and get out of here. Grade 1, winning your in action for the Breeders' Cup Distaff out at Del Mar on Saturday afternoon. The Grade 1 Clement L. Hirsch. It's a good field of fillies put together, but I think the race starts and ends with She Dares the Devil coming in from Kentucky for Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. I think her most recent run in the Fleur de Lis was arguably the best she's ever looked, and she's going to get the target that she wants, and at least Private Mission, if not 1 or 2 other fillies as well. She Dares the Devil does her best with a target in front of her. She's going to get that again. She won this race last year, and I think she gets the job done again this year. She'll be a short price, likely the favorite, but I like She Dares the Devil in the Clement L. Hirsch. And there's that. So let's see. Do we have an updated leaderboard, AJ, so we can get out of here? Possibly we do. Updated leaderboard. How about that? It's as if the racing gods smiled upon us. Togo Travaglia, through 5 races, is in first, 61.40. I'm not going to list off all the dollar amounts at this point. The two. In second is Paul Cavanna. Third, Mark Henderson. Fourth, Kevin Lux. Fifth, Amanda Couples. Sixth, GT Nixon. Seventh, Michael Domabil. Eighth, Austin Kale. Ninth, Dave Nichols. 10th, Ernest Hay Jr. Right now, those are the 10 folks that would earn tour points. The year-long Horse Players Happy Hour Tour. For those of you looking to qualify for Saturday's $179 BCBC qualifier, 11th, Matt Brown. 12th, Anthony Schiavone. 13th, Phil Hodbeck. And 14th, Steve Nemitz. Right now, the cut is at $31.80 with 3 races left to go. If things stopped right now, Togo Travaglia and Paul Cavanna would have their, I say Cavanna. Is it Kavanaugh? I've heard PTF pronounce it a different way. I don't know. Paul, sorry. But right now, if things stay this way, you will be one of the 2 folks automatically moving on to the postseason. But we still have 3 races to go, a long way to go. For those of you that are still involved, still have a chance in this week's Horse Players Happy Hour. That's going to do it for this show. Again, thank you to producer AJ, filling in for producer Craig, who is off on his honeymoon. Congrats to Craig. Happy birthday to PTF, head honcho over there at In the Money Media. Thank you to our friends at the Breeders' Cup, Haley Amos, who we heard from earlier, talking about the Breeders' Cup Classic Future Wager. Be sure to get involved in that this weekend. And also our friend Justin McDonald over at the Breeders' Cup. Always fun to work with those folks. And thank you to all of you who come and listen and watch and play and participate. Tell your friends, tell everybody about Horseplayers Happy Hour. It's only a $20 buy-in. The juice goes to charity. It's for a good cause. It's helping the horses when their job on the track has come to a conclusion. I want to make sure that we take care of them because of all the good things that they've given us throughout our lives. So $20 buy-in. You can have as many as 3 entries. Tell your friends. It's every Thursday. And then come and join us on all these social media channels from 4 to 5 Eastern. Horseplayers Happy Hour. That's going to do it for this week, August the 4th. My name is Matt Bernier. You can follow me on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. Till next Thursday's Horseplayers Happy Hour. Best of luck however you play, whatever you play, and wherever you play.